started as a night like any other, a casual plan between friends. Dan and Jeff had set out for a simple evening. Campfires, beer, and laughter, with their usual crowd deep in the woods of Connecticut Hill. The area was vast and easy to get lost in, even for locals, and as darkness fell, they realized they'd missed the turn for their friend's campsite. "Are you sure they said to take the second left after the clearing?" Dan asked, gripping the steering wheel tightly as the truck bumped over the uneven dirt road. "I'm sure, I think," Jeff muttered, squinting into the inky blackness beyond the headlights. After another 10 minutes of driving, their frustration grew. They decided to turn around, but as Dan reversed the truck to pivot, the headlights swept across something strange. A chain-link fence, topped with barbed wire, emerged from the trees, enclosing what looked like a small, nondescript military building. Two massive satellite dishes jutted out of the ground nearby, their surfaces cracked and weathered, seemingly abandoned. "What the hell is this?" Jeff whispered, stepping out of the truck. The area seemed lifeless. No lights, no movement, just silence. The building was small, its windows darkened, with a faded U.S. government emblem barely visible on the side. The satellites loomed like relics of a forgotten era. As they moved closer, Dan pointed to a pair of security cameras perched on tall poles near the gate. "Look at that," Dan said. "Cameras. And they're still here? What a waste. Guess the military didn't bother to pack everything up." But as soon as the words left his mouth, one of the cameras whirred to life. The lens swiveled and locked directly onto them. Both men froze. A loud mechanical hum filled the air as the second camera activated, focusing on them as well. "That's not good," Jeff muttered. Suddenly, a deafening alarm shattered the silence. It was a siren, unlike anything they'd heard before, piercing, mechanical, and layered with strange metallic undertones. The sound reverberated through the trees, rattling their teeth. They bolted for the truck, barely able to keep their footing on the uneven ground. As they scrambled inside and sped off, the alarm followed them, echoing through the night like a hunting cry. They didn't stop driving until they were miles away, pulling off onto a side road to catch their breath. For weeks, the memory of that night haunted them. They couldn't shake the image of those cameras, the chilling sound of the alarm, or the feeling that someone, had been watching. Curiosity got the better of them, and they decided to go back during the day to see what they'd really found. When they returned, the scene was unrecognizable. The barbed wire fence was gone. The building was gone. Even the satellite dishes were gone. All that remained was a massive concrete slab, its surface smooth and featureless, as if something heavy had been uprooted and hauled away. "Where the hell is everything?" Jeff asked, stepping out of the truck to examine the tire tracks leading away from the site. They were deep and recent, the only evidence that anything had ever been there. Dan scanned the area. "It's like they packed up and left overnight." As they stood there, the faint sound of an engine rumbled in the distance. A black SUV appeared at the far end of the dirt road, speeding toward them. "Get in the truck," Dan said quickly. They barely had time to react before the SUV skidded to a stop, and two men in dark suits stepped out. "This is private property," one of them said, his tone sharp and unyielding. "You need to leave. Now." Jeff opened his mouth to protest, but Dan grabbed his arm. "We're leaving," he said, backing toward the truck. As they drove away, Dan glanced in the rearview mirror. The men were still standing there, watching them, their faces expressionless. The following months, Dan and Jeff kept their distance from the area, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they'd stumbled onto something they weren't meant to see. Rumors about the site began circulating in town. Stories of strange military experiments, secret communication arrays, and even whispers of extraterrestrial activity. But the truth remained elusive, buried somewhere deep in the woods of Connecticut Hill. And as much as they tried to forget, neither of them could ignore the lingering sense that someone, or something, was still watching.